You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio, and we thank all of you for taking the time to join us this evening. I have as co-host Kathy Dunson. Kathy, are you there, sister?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody.
And we have a special guest with us this evening, Karlee Sunshine Midrano. Karlee, are you there, sister?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
All right. Well, thanks, both of you, for joining us this evening and in fellowship, and looking forward to the discourse. There seems to be a lot happening in the community, and specifically want to mention the releases that Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, the YouTube channel. I don't know his name, but the individual that he released a couple of videos detailing information about 50 reasons Copernicus versus the Bible, I believe is the name of it. And it's a very interesting book, which has been little known. And we just, really heard about it through his work. And Kathy and I have actually been converting it to larger formats so we can print it and share it with the community. I think it will be greatly beneficial, and that there will be a lot of interest in it. I believe that Kathy's read the majority of it and having formatted it for publication. I'm working on finalizing some aspects of it, but also there's another book which we have been working on called Earth Stands Fast. And so if you would, Kathy, can you talk about both of these as well as the content in whatever you have read from them?
Actually, I haven't looked at Earth Stands Fast yet. I came across that as another text within this book, and I think it's really good. We've got a lot of sharp eyes in the community, and someone had brought 50 Reasons Copernicus or the Bible to Will is his name at Truth is Stranger Than Fiction channel. We really love his channel. He does a lot of great things, including Flat Earth Testimonies. But someone brought this text to him, and he read the opening of it, and it's a treatise against scientism. It was written in 1915, I believe, and it's an amazing text. It's so clearly written, and like you were reading that quote at the intro of the show, it's a lost form. We see everyone winding their way around making these complicated explanations about everything in our world when it's really so simple. And we've lost that. We've lost our way. We've lost the scripture as being our foundation and our true north. And that is what is brought forth in this book. It's the same things that we are dealing with in the community, and the same questions that we're answering, from gravity. It starts with Foucault's pendulum. I found something that was really interesting. Let me find that. I pulled that real quick. About the Foucault's pendulum, there's a Dr. Schaefer, who was an eyewitness of the experiment, said, in an introductory speech, Dr. Minzer at Quedlinburg showed that until then, and this was in 1851, until then, there had been no proof for the Copernican hypothesis. The so-called proofs being, after close investigation, just as many confutations or refutations, until the Foucault pendulum showed the rotation of the Earth uncontrovertibly. But they discuss that here and show quite handily that Foucault's pendulum is just a farce. And I think many know that in the community, but that's something that comes up quite often. So there are 50 different things, and a huge emphasis on scripture being our mark in the sand here. And that's what we want to come back to, and ending with Luther, a cry back to Luther. So we found some good quotes from Luther, but so that's just a glimpse at it, and we'll have that in large font, and it'll be really a wonderful thing. It's not very long, just under 100 pages. It's something I think everybody should read.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to share just a small portion from the preface, just to give people an idea as to the author is F.E. Pache. The guy that wrote the preface is different. His name is Schaefer something, I believe, but I'll read just a little bit and then we'll get Karlee to comment on this. It says, the author of this booklet has risked a tilt with science. That is a venturesome undertaking in these days of ours where science reigns supreme, a veritable goddess before whom millions of faithful worshipers bow their heads in childlike trust. Science has become the master word to conjure with because it claims to have laid down a firm foundation for a Weltanschauung, which is a German word. I don't know what it means, but
Worldview.
Oh, thank you. There you go, worldview. Okay, a foundation for a worldview which happily eliminates all those troublesome concepts of sin and guilt, of eternity and a responsibility to an almighty God. Whoever dares to touch this beloved and admired idol with an unfriendly hand, with the nefarious purpose of exhibiting its brazen worthlessness, must expect to be caught up in the vortex of a crushing whirlwind of fanatical vituperation. Do you know what that means?
I forget.
Okay. Well, somebody can look that up. Vituperation.
I remember Will said he had to look it up.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's the first time I've seen it. But for science with its high priests and devotees, it's intolerant to the last degree. But let it be remembered that our author is at odds only with science. He has no quarrel with science which is content with a lowercase initial. Just plain science is a valuable aid to man since it diligently assembles knowable facts and marshals them into some logical order for purposes of study and application. Its domain is that of observation, and it rests content with recording what it actually sees and hears. It goes no further beyond the individual perceptions than to express in general, abstract terms a summary of known facts, announcing the so-called laws, quote unquote, which may be deduced from observed occurrences. Plain science is continuously reaching forward into the region of the unknown, seeking to increase the actual store of human knowledge. But as it never pretends to know what is unknown, so does it never attempt to overstep the boundaries which are set between that which is knowable and that which is naturally unknowable. Briefly, just plain science is real knowledge, not fancy. And I'll stop there. Karlee?
Well, that's such a mouthful. That's a lot to take in. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that, I just absolutely love what you and Kathy are doing when you're taking these books and translating or transcribing them and making them available to the rest of us. I think that's just a beautiful thing that you guys do, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I definitely appreciate being on the show again. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. It's going to be a good evening, I believe. And as far as this material, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been able to read this quite yet. There's so much material out there right now that it's so difficult to keep up when it comes to even even listening to, other people's interviews or listening to the hangouts that go on where people are just giving their opinion, listening to content, videos, experiments, observations that people are making, it's nice in a way because it's so overwhelming and there's so much out there that we literally cannot keep up. We kind of have to find places that we can follow and go from there. But it's just wonderful how much the community is growing and how much amazing content is out there that we just can't even, listen to it all.
Right.
However, from what you were saying, what you just read to us all, I mean, I can make a couple comments. I find often that what we are doing as quote unquote flat earthers, or let's just say humans that are awakening to the fact that the earth is not what we were told, is that we are the ones that are actually doing real science. We are actually applying the scientific method, and we're actually going out there, and what's so rewarding is that we're finding this out for ourselves. We're not letting someone else do this 100 years ago, 50 years ago, write it down and say that this is it. This is just, I'm sorry, my my dog is barking.
Oh, it's all good.
That this is just the, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. They like to make it seem like we are not allowed to apply any kind of scientific method, that unless we have some kind of degree, some kind of schooling, that we are not, as a human, allowed to have our own opinion, make theories, do these experiments. Because I find that a lot. Like, I don't look at myself as being this, I don't want to say like a science person, because I'm looking at it as in what the world looks like. What the world sees as a scientist is someone like Bill Nye, or Neil deGrasse Tyson. Bill Nye isn't even really a scientist. So I hate to give myself that label, but then you have other people, listening to your content, and they're kind of boo-hooing on it negative, and they're telling you, well, what gives you the right to do this? What kind of degree or schooling do you have? Well, why would you want to take that away from another person when do you really need schooling? Do you need to have some kind of degree to be able to go out and make your own opinions and make your own theories? And I think that's kind of where I come at this, looking at the truth of the flat earth. And what I like to motivate other people to do as well is that you need to go figure this out for yourself. You need to go make these observations and do the experiments, document things, and learn for yourself, because it's going to be so much better of an experience. Don't let other people tell you you're not allowed to do that because you don't have a degree. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
When you're reading that, I'm thinking to myself, like, we hear this all the time. That's part of the harassment. That's part of the abuse that we get, is that what gives you the right to learn? And I want to tell them, well, why do you think that what you were taught, in schooling, which we all know, if we are awakened, schooling is just basically is forcing you or teaching you to conform, and they're teaching you how to obey. So, it's like
that's
it's
part of the deception today, I think.
It really is. Absolutely, and it's a shame, because so many people are programmed to think that we don't have the right to go out and learn the truth for ourselves. And specifically, what we are talking about tonight would be the shape of the earth and how much we've been lied to about it, because it's attached to so many other truths. It bothers me that we're told that we don't have that right.
Yeah, and they expect us to bow down to these neopteric priests of Baal, when all they are pseudoscientists, and they are knowingly leading us astray. I mean, they are indoctrinating us into nothing but lies built upon lies. I mean, the whole Darwinian, that we evolved the monkeys, the whole thing that the sun is the center of the so-called solar system, and that the Earth and the other planets are in orbit around it. All of that, now that we know the truth, is completely exposed as lie, nothing but lies. And these are provable facts. I mean, we can determine from real science and real observations, just especially like with the time-lapse photography, of how all the celestial luminaries, as is described by Enoch in the book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries, the description, 14 chapters detailing the motions, the revolutions of the celestial luminaries around Polaris, the one fixed star of the celestial night, and everything else moves in orbit around it. Not that all the stars are or the planets are in orbit around the sun. Nothing is moving in orbit around the sun. And the sun's not even this huge, massive body that they have us buying into and believing, that it's 93 million miles away and that it's 108 times the size of the Earth across its diameter. It's so ludicrous. And now that I know the truth about the real cosmology as taught in not only the Bible and encoded into the extra biblical texts like the Book of Enoch, but the fact that all of this, like these books that have been recently discovered, and William Carpenter's book, 100 Proofs That the Earth is Not a Globe, Terra Firma by Wardlaw Scott, and Parallax, Samuel Burley Robotham, his work, and other individuals that we haven't heard of, like this individual, and the Alex Gleason in his book, Is the Earth a Globe? There are so many books that were written on this topic that were challenging the whole premise, even like with what I read at the very beginning, the quote by Nikola Tesla. It all affirms, and like so many people, and I believe this was another video that Will had made, talking about how everybody believes that this is just a psyop, some kind of CIA psyop, and that they have released this just to make Christians look stupid. And yet all of these books from the 1800s and prior confirm that this is nothing new, that this discussion has been ongoing, and that had been a heated debate for hundreds of years now, and that it was never settled because the whole heliocentric worldview is nothing but lies built upon lies. And so we've been indoctrinated, brainwashed into believing something that's not true. And so we have to now reassess everything that we thought we knew and come to new understanding as far as the paradigm of truth. And all of us are being forced to reassess together what that really is. And so, that's why there's so much. I mean, just so much, because everybody that is awakened to this as truth now, we're going back and we're re-examining history, looking back into the annals of the scientists like Auguste Piccard and others, which speak about and describe in truth what the Earth really represents as, like he said, a flat disk with upturned edge. And so we are learning all these things together.
Correct. And I two things I want to comment there is, well, first of all, they've sold us or programmed us, brainwashed us into believing this completely and total fabricated false reality. But because there are people that are put into leadership, then we just, we follow that. And because we go to school and we're taught that we need to listen to teachers and people placed in authority, it's someone that we need to follow. Society has lost that whole complete ability to think for themselves. I mean, literally, people don't understand how bad it is. We do not think for ourselves, and there's a lot of things we don't do for ourselves anymore as humans. But it's so much easier than that. I think we make it harder. Like, honestly, if people don't need to believe, a teacher or a scientist when they tell you, and I'm going to use a funny terminology, but when they tell you that, the sun and the moon and those luminaries are uh, astronomical distances away, that we just believe that because of them being placed in a position of authority, when in reality, true reality, if you just go outside and you look at the sun and the moon, do they look like does the sun look like it's 93 million miles away?
Yeah.
And we're told these odd distances so that it matches, so that they look similar sizes in the sky, when in reality, if you go outside and you look at these luminaries, that they literally are very similar in size. It should be so much easier than what we're making it. We kind of have to simplify things sometimes, and that is like the basis of the scientific method, is just that's a simple observation, and it can be repeated every day.
Right.
It's so simple. And also, I wanted to comment on the fact that people say that the flat Earth is a psyop. There's different levels to the periods of grief that people go through when they realize they've been lied to. And I think those out there that are claiming that flat Earth is a psyop, they've gotten to the point where in their head it's starting to make sense, but it's making too much sense for them and they can't handle it. Like, they're in that denial stage where they're like, no, it can't possibly be this easy. This has to be a psyop and it's a trick. They kind of need to grow past that, and it's a shame. But some people, it takes a lot longer to get past those stages of grief, and some people get through it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that. I don't understand how they can't see that the globe lie that we were taught is really what is the psychological operation, and it worked for the most part.
Totally. For 500 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other interesting aspect about the whole determination of whether the Earth is flat or if it's a globe or whether it's moving or not is that you can go out and you can test for yourself. You don't have to be some kind of PhD degree or an astrophysicist or some kind of whatever kind of scientist with multiple degrees and be able to understand mathematics at a very high level to go out and to test for yourself and prove that there is no measurable curvature. Anybody can go to a flat stretch of area that can be found anywhere. All of us, no matter where we are, there is a place near us where we can go and observe and see over enough distance to measure and confirm, just as Samuel Burley Robotham did in the Bedford Level experiment, that there is, even if it's just 3 miles of looking down a canal or looking across a lake or looking across, out across the ocean using a P900 Nikon now and watching the ships disappear over the horizon, supposedly over the horizon, and then pulling all that back into focus and just seeing that it's just they've gone beyond the point of, where the naked eye can hold perspective. I mean, all of these things confirm and have for hundreds of years, even thousands of years, even lighthouses and how they've been able to be seen by boats out on the oceans at 30 miles distance, 50 miles different distance. And that just would not be possible according to the scientific formula for the determination of curvature. There should be thousands of feet of water and between from the so-called curvature of the Earth as the horizon dissipates and disappears over and drops below what we should be able to see with our with not only our naked eye but with telescopic instruments and cameras, these high zoom cameras now. And so all of that can be determined very easily, and people can go out and do it for themselves. You don't have to have a degree, just as you said. And even children, they recognize when they go out and they look at the world, and if nobody ever told them, they would never, ever have come to the idea that the Earth was round, and that the oceans are curved, and that we're spinning once daily as we orbit annually around the sun. They can plainly see that the sun moves across the skies, the moon moves across the skies, the celestial luminaries move in orbit around Polaris, and I mean, all of that is verifiable, confirmable. Navigation, these shipmasters for thousands of years have used the North Star because it's fixed and unmoving, to determine which direction north is, so that they can then determine which direction they are going. And so all of that is confirmed. We got just 30 seconds here, Karlee, before break.
Okay, I did have, maybe I'll just wait till after break, but I'll just mention I made a pretty neat observation this evening while watching a thunderstorm as the sun was exiting. And even that had a very beautiful observation that the sun was traveling away and not setting behind a curve. And I can go over that after break.
All right, cool. And when we do come back, I want you to give out your website, contact information, anything of that nature you'd like to share. We'll be right back, everyone. All right, welcome back, everybody. Karlee, let me just give it to you and get you to share your information, and then share your observation.
Sure. My name is Karlee Sunshine Midrano on Facebook. My Facebook profile is public, so if anybody wants to friend me or follow me over there, I post a lot of truth, especially about the flat earth, and it's public, so you can share it at your leisure. I also run about 12 flat earth Facebook groups, but I'm just going to mention the one that I created by myself. I consider it my baby. It's called Flat and Happy, and that is a flat earth Facebook group. It is a closed group, so I vet people before they come in. So a lot of people kind of wait at the gate before I allow them in, because I really like to make sure that they're not a troll or someone that just wants to come in and poke fun and harass. So I have some really great moderators in there, and they do a good job also at allowing true flat earthers in. I also have a content channel, and it's just called Karlee Sunshine, where I do anything from video logs to content videos. Sometimes I just do time-lapse videos of clouds, and sometimes I just do interviews. So there's all sorts of things on there. So if you're interested in that, find me on YouTube at Karlee Sunshine. And so before the break, we were just talking about simple observations so that you can easily figure out the shape of the earth, and that you've been lied to, and that you do not have to be a scientist with a degree. And it made me think of something that I was experiencing just right before I actually hopped on the show. And I was all excited. I do photography for fun and on the side. And a lot of times it's, especially in the last couple years, it's been observing our sun and our moon and the sky. And the sun was exiting. So I'm in northeastern United States. I'm in Pennsylvania. And so the sun is starting to move on its circuit, and it's exiting farther and farther north now. And I live where there's a big giant field across from me, and this absolutely gorgeous storm started rolling in. And literally all I saw whenever I looked out there at first was this big column of rain. It didn't even look like a storm. It was just a big tube of rain coming down in the distance. And I was just, astounded. It was beautiful. So I quickly ran and got my camera and took some pictures. Well, it just started building and building. And soon we had lightning. And when a storm builds, I think they're called cumulus nimbus clouds, just continue to build on each other. It almost looks like a mushroom cloud. It builds higher and higher. Well, as the sun was exiting, as I'm looking across the field, the sun is exiting to my left, and the storm is building to my right. As the sun is exiting and really getting out of view, I just see a very tiny bit of color. The higher that the storm built, the higher the clouds got. The very tippy top of those clouds building for the storm were starting to turn pink and orange, because they were getting high enough that they were getting past what I call false horizon, which was the mountain. They were getting up past the mountain and all those things in the distance, the convergence point, and they were starting to catch the color of the sun exiting again because they were rising so high. So to me, that's just one of those simple observations that the sun wasn't literally dipping behind curve and not being able to be seen anymore. It was just moving farther and farther away. And so the topography, like there's a couple mountains in the way there, was no longer an issue because the clouds were getting higher and they were starting to change color on the top because of the sun exit. So I just thought that was a gorgeous experience to have, right before hopping on the show. And I'm glad I was able to share it with you guys. And that, as a little side note, that's why my dog was sitting here with me, because he was afraid of the storm, and that's why he barked just a few minutes ago. So I apologize. But people that know me, they know I have a dog. His name is Logger, and everybody loves him on Facebook. So yeah, that was Logger. He wanted to say a couple words. So
Yeah, absolutely. He had a comment too.
Yeah.
My cats are always wanting to jump on the shows as well. I gotta love our animals, our furry friends. They bring such joy and unconditional love to our lives, and what better to have as a companion than an animal and be able to share time and space with. I recommend it for anybody, especially those that seem to be a little down on themselves, or that let the heaviness of just what we're dealing with as world with regard to, in my opinion, being at the end of day is just, the news and the heaviness of the New World Order, all of that. If you look into it too much, study it too much, it can really weigh on you. And so, nothing better than an animal to put you back into the moment and just get you to share joy in a moment without worrying about past or future or anything like that.
Yep. Oh, I agree. My whole life I've been someone who's always had pets, and it can be so rewarding that, like you were saying about, worrying about things like the way the world is going, and it can be very stressful knowing what we know, and maybe feeling a little separated from our the relationships and the social aspects we have in real life, because people don't always understand where we're coming from, and animals are just completely non-judgmental and they love you unconditionally, but it's also it's a wonderful, rewarding experience to raise an animal and for them to trust you, and they help keep you grounded. There's so many times in this world where I'm worrying about like stupid, frivolous things. I mean, honestly, things that should never worry me. And if I kind of sit back and relax and just, if you observe whatever animal you have, usually they're just pretty content. And usually it's just something very simple that's making them happy,
Right.
And it's just wonderful. And it definitely gives me a peace and wonderful friendship. But, and I don't know where you, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's lesson to be learned there. Like our animals, they teach us to really not be preoccupied by all of that, because really in every day, there's always something going on that if we allow it to get us down and allow it to just to weigh on us, we can always find something to worry about, something to stress out over, something to just be depressed and overly burdened about, and they teach us, as long as we have enough food, enough water, and love, and like my cats, they like to go outside and hang out with me, but just being able to share the simplicity of a moment and being a part of the existential experience of just being able to go out and be part of the grand creation and witness to an unfolding of a new day. I mean, we should be so happily content for the blessings of every moment, and the opportunity to awaken to every new day and entirely new dream. And we sometimes, humans, we overanalyze and overthink, overstress stuff, and we forget the simplicity of that and And so animals, they really help us to, as you said, be grounded and to remember those kind of things. Because really, we're creatures too.
Yeah, and I think they teach us valuable lessons, and I think we need to be pay more attention to animals, especially those of us that are, awakening to the truth of the world and realizing that we've been lied to about virtually everything. But something as simple as, it's another simple observation, like my dog, if there's a sunspot on the floor, or he has the ability or the opportunity to go outside and lay in the sun, guess what? He does it because somehow innately, either it just feels good or he knows that sunlight is good for him.
Right.
And animals are very easily affected by the moon phases, and they understand that things like, they know when it's going to rain because the plant life gives off like pheromones that they release. Like they're so in tune with those sort of natural world things that we've lost the ability to do that, or at least we maybe still have the ability, but we've lost the urge to do that. But simple things like, we were taught. I remember being taught in school, basically. I mean, it was almost like the sun is the devil. The sun is like this burning hot thing that is just. Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, we need it, but it's just
bad for
evil.
You. It's going to cause cancer.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it. Yeah, I remember being taught that if we as a planet ever stopped our spinning, that we would be sucked into the sun and burn up because the sun's gravity all of a sudden become too powerful. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we were taught. Don't look at the sun, it'll burn your retinas. Don't go out in the sun too long because it's not good for you. But in reality, everything in moderation, and do it in a smart way, but it's very good for you. And the animals know that. We get away from that kind of thing, but they teach us lessons.
Yeah, they do.
It does feel good.
Yeah. And look at how many people are disconnected from that, just really quick, kids that no longer, if the sun is setting, or the beauty of a sunset, or the full moon rising, the natural beauty of the way that the creation is synced and harmonized together, and the way that twilight comes and then night and our purple legions and the stars and all of that, the way that it all comes together day and night, the way that they're synced and they transition one into the other, and we just don't recognize that anymore. And now kids, they would totally, they're looking at their phones, they don't see anything else, they don't recognize anything of what's going on. It's like people, there's videos of people in the mall, they don't even walk now without looking down at their phones. And I've seen people walk into fountains, end up being totally wet. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. And I just heard also recently, earlier, they were talking about how people are texting and driving, and how there's 11 people every day across the United States that end up dying in accidents, and so many people becoming paralyzed and causing the deaths of others because they're trying to text and drive or talk on their phone or watch videos while they're driving. It's just, it's so ridiculous. Go ahead, Karlee.
Yeah, it's definitely a selfish society when we get to that point where we're more worried about, Snapchatting and not being careful with, and being courteous to other drivers. But you find that everywhere, and it's a shame. But you were mentioning about, children, they're missing out on things like sunsets or sun exits. I like to call it a sun exit or a sun entrance. Let's just get away from the sunset, because then people will literally think it's disappearing behind, the curve. But I'm trying to reprogram my brain into calling it sun entrance and sun exit. But like, my fiance, he actually, we talk a lot about the flat earth and the new things about earth that we're learning. And just the other day, it was exciting because he actually mentioned to me, he's like, I think I could call myself a flat earther. It's been a long time coming, because it hasn't, he's not like overly enthusiastic about it like I am. And he's not addicted, and he's not really, has no kind of calling to share it with others, but he's really starting to come to terms with it, which is really nice. But he mentioned one day, because we were talking about sun gazing, and I'm sure you guys have heard about sun gazing. And for anyone that's listening that doesn't understand what that is, that opposite of what we were taught, that looking into the sun at a certain time of the day, when the sun is first entering your line of vision, or when your sun is just exiting your line of vision, because of it's usually changing color, and because it's going through like the atmospheric refraction and the atmospheric lensing and the moisture in the air and such, it's protecting you, and you're able to stare at it. And people literally like heal their eyes. They change things in their body, and they become healthier by sun gazing. Well, we were talking about this, and I think it's a two-part system. I really don't think you should sun gaze or be out in the sun in general without being barefoot. I think that whatever energy you're downloading from the sun that's beneficial, I think you need to be touching the earth for it to make a full circuit, kind of like grounding yourself with electricity. You know what I mean? Like if you ground yourself and electricity can go through you, it doesn't hurt. But if you break the grounding, then that's when you feel the pain. And I think that's where people go wrong when they're out in the sun for a very long time, and then they get burnt or they get, sun poisoning or something like that, or they overdo it. But anyway, my fiance mentioned, he said, I literally think, and this was pretty profound, I thought, he said, I literally think that God created the sun exits to be gorgeous so that we would stare at them because of the health benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, that's pure gold. Yeah, that's pure gold. The sun entrance and the sun exit, where nowadays we have some manufactured skies, and you get some really wild, crazy colors, and sometimes that's because of the chemtrails and the heavy metals and the aerosols in the air, which is a shame. But genuine sun exits and sun entrances can still be very vibrant and beautiful.
Karlee.
And you just
absolutely.
Karlee, the sun entrance and sun exit, that's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
I made
that could be really nice, and I'm just a lot of thoughts for that for the conference.
Well, I mean, probably a year ago, I started trying to coin that term, and I made a meme where it's like, and in pictures I took of the sun entering my line of vision and the sun exiting, and I wrote those terms, and I was like,
the front of the shirt, the entrance. And see.
That's perfect. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's great. I've thought about some ideas for t-shirts, but I just don't know, yet.
But that would be a good one.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
That's yours. And Karlee Sunshine. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
But I just thought that the whole idea that, the creator specifically made those experiences for us be gorgeous, that we would look at them because it does have health benefits, which is just, amazing to me. That's but then the other part I wanted to mention also was that I think that, like I said, when you're out in the sun, to make a full connection, I really think, and people have studied this, it's called earthing, where you're literally touching the ground with your feet or some other part of your body if you're sitting on the ground, something like that. But I think that's a huge part of literally what we say is grounding, the grounding experience with being out in the sun. And I think that's why, like when we go to the ocean, so we're standing in sand, which is pulverized like glass pieces, or standing in salt water, and you feel so amazing when you're out in that sun. A lot of people just feel like almost like more of a natural high, or like they're producing more vitamin D being in the sun at the beach. And I think it's because of the salinity in the water and the salinity in the air is creating an even better conductor for that energy download that you're getting from the sun, plus you're touching the sand. So to me that, there's all kinds of experiments we could do for that, but that's just one of those like natural observations I've thought about that makes sense why we feel so good at the ocean, when we're out in the sun.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that
it's the
on
best
vacation.
picture show too, watching a sun entrance or a sun exit. Those are the best picture shows. I mean, there's no Hollywood movie production that can equal, in my opinion.
And they're never the same. It's always a whole new movie every morning and every night.
Mm-hmm. And especially if you're watching it over water, the way that the sun plays off of the waves. I mean, it looks like
Mm-hmm.
diamonds, glistening across the oceans and just cresting on each wave. It's just
Oh
so
yeah.
beautiful. I mean, that used to be one of my most favorite things to do is just go and watch the sun entrance, sun exit at the beach or from a high place like near where I used to live with when I was a teenager with my parents. I would jog to this high point that was the highest elevation in the county that I lived in, and I would hang. There was always these cows there, and I would just hang out with the cows and watch the sun uh, set and go down, and also leaving, as you said, exiting out of our view and out of our perspective. And then there were always these pastel colors and the way that it plays on the undersides of the clouds and the pinks and the purples, and it's just so remarkable. And then the peace of such moment. And the other thing that I noticed in because when you go someplace that's really quiet and there's no sounds from the city, there's no highways or cars driving by, none of that. You can hear all the animals come out, and it's almost like a cacophony of sounds, like a symphony, a natural symphony. All the toads near the creeks and the crickets, the cicadas, and they come out to sing, and all the animals, the owls, and all the animals come out to sing. It's almost like they're saying goodbye to the sun. See you tomorrow. That kind of thing. It's a really beautiful thing. And then the whole transition into night. Usually, you'll see it's at least a couple of planets. They're usually the first ones visible and the most brightest. Venus, Jupiter, things like that. Even Mars, you can see the reddish tones. But and then the transitioning, darkening of night, and it's fabulous. And there's nothing better, in my opinion, to a moment to share with friends or just the creation. Those were always my favorite times.
That's such a sweet thought what you said about like the birds and the bugs and like the spring peepers, we call them, they're frogs, that
Yeah,
they're just like serenading the sun as it exits. I like that idea. But
yeah.
that's such a beautiful memory that you have there. I love
Mhm.
it. Is anyone out there listening right now who is not as familiar with this theory or this truth, I should say, and is starting to get into this and question things, these are the kinds of things that's going to change your mind and change your world. Is go out and start watching the sun actually exit and really pay attention to it and start really appreciating what's actually going on and not just taking it from someone else's point of view or taking it from some scientist telling you this is how it is. Go actually experience it. It's pretty amazing. You're gonna change your mind, I think, pretty quick. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I've made some observations. I'm fortunate where I live because in front of me I have a very large field, and then there's a mountain. We call it the North Mountain, and then behind me I have another field and a like a fence row of trees and a railroad track, and then more fields, and then a South Mountain. So I'm in this big wide valley, but
Cool.
I'm fortunate that I can observe a pretty good portion of the sky without the mountains being too close to me, that I can watch, observe the sun and the moon. Um, and I think it was last year or maybe like 6 months ago, something like that, I did an observation where, and it's harder and harder to do nowadays because we have so many days that the sun is literally blocked out from chemtrails. And maybe
Chemtrails,
we can,
right?
yeah, maybe we can go over that a little bit later too. But
Yeah.
um, when you have a very crisp, clear, clean day, and when the sun is exiting, you can literally see, everyone sees like the different shades and the colors as they're disappearing. But I'm talking a day where there's no clouds in the way, nothing's like interfering with this different shading of color. You're just seeing the sky itself change color. And it's beautiful because there's the bright, brilliant whitish blue close to the sun, and then the regular sky blue and a little bit darker, and then you get some pinks and some oranges, and this is the sky, not the clouds. And then you get this deep purple. It's like a deep purple ring. If you could imagine looking down on the flat earth and the sun is there somewhere, like say it's above the United States, and then you could see the ring of light around it, and the very edge of that ring of light is this deep purple ring. It's like the light's barrier. And I've gone out there in the field and watched that purple edge of that purple ring slowly get closer to me, and then be right above me, and then be past me, and then right behind that is night. I mean, right behind that, the light is done, and it's the dark of night. And we don't often see this anymore because, like I said, there's not many days where you don't have some kind of chemtrail haze, which is so sad. But I have a couple times observed this and documented. I think I even have a short video about it on my YouTube channel. And it's just so amazing. To me, that shows proof of a small, close sun, and it's a localized source of light. Mm-hmm. And when it's leaving, you're not seeing half of your perspective lose light. You're seeing a very small portion of it with this ring of light following it. To me, that's a no-brainer. That is a localized source of light, and it's leaving my perspective. And then night is right behind it. Maybe it's just because our eyes are open, but in my observation and in my opinion, that does not resemble what we should be seeing if the sun was dipping behind Earth, dipping behind the curve. Right. And I wish there was a way to document that from a higher perspective, and you'd have to have a super clear day. But it's a absolute gorgeous observation, and I think it proves a small, close sun. But you're talking about the sun exit and the change of color. It just reminds me of this deep purple ring, which is the end of the sun's light. It's fantastic.
I love it. It's my favorite time. All right, we'll be right back, everyone. All right, welcome back, everybody, for second hour. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed. I have as co-host with me, as always, Kathy Dunson, and as special guest, Karlee Sunshine Midrano. All right, Karlee, I wanted to just, turn it back over to you and ask you, with regard to your group, Flat and Happy, what are some of the topics? What are some of the things that people have been recently speaking about, sharing and discussing within the group? Anything of particular interest?
To try to pick out one specific thing would be difficult, other than the fact that the group is strictly all things flat Earth. And, when I created the group, it was one of those kind of next steps I felt like was important. Not everyone feels that way, but some people feel like they are led or they're being called to share this truth. And so there's kind of like a growing or a learning curve. And I just felt like at some point in time, I'm like, I need to do more for the community. I need to step up and I need to start giving back more because other people were helping me. So I created this group, but there was a lot of groups at the time that were more like debate groups where they were kind of okay with having everyone and anyone get in there. They were more concerned about having large quantities of members, but no quality. And that sounds really rude, but I'm just saying they really, literally all they want to do is debate and yell at each other. And for me, I didn't see that as being something healthy. And I wanted to create a group where if someone had humble questions they could come in and ask. If someone had observations they were making, I don't care how small the observation was or seemed so simple, and I don't care if 100 people already did that. If they wanted to make that observation and that's their experience, then I wanted them to have a place that they can share it, a place where they can share photography or any kind of documentation that seems to help towards the truth and is some kind of proof. Or if they see a link of a video that they like, or they want to promote a certain person and their views or their opinions, as long as it's not abusing anyone, that's the place you can share it. And what I also love is that because we're really careful with not allowing people in that just want, I mean, people literally are out there that just want to harass others that are questioning the original narrative, and they want to abuse other people. I mean, there's people out there that just really, they are happy to make other people miserable. And I didn't want that there. We are already having enough trouble with, sharing this with friends and family and getting abuse from that. And people really go through the gambit of abuse when trying to explain to their friends and family the truth of the flat earth. I wanted this. Yeah. Oh, and I understand. And I've been through it myself. And what's really nice is having a group like that is that you can go there and quietly learn and get better at learning so that you can then take what you're learning in the group and then go back and try to share with your friends and family. We're not always going to be perfect at it, but when we share it, every step gives us a little bit more strength and courage to do it the next time. And we just have to understand that when you're sharing with friends and family, you're planting a seed. We all know that. What I also encourage is that you're not going to get people to change their mind. I know that's harsh and it's hard to hear, but we're all going to be there for each other when we get rejected, but at least we're learning and we're trying and we're putting the seed out there. Now it's up to them to change their mind. We can't change their mind for them. So the group is kind of like that kind of dynamic. And it's closed. So that means that if someone joins, nobody on your regular Facebook profile list can see what you're doing. So if you comment, if you like a post, if you share something, it's closed. Nobody else sees it. And I know some people think that that's kind of the wimpy way out, but it really isn't, because if you're very new at this or you don't feel confident enough, you don't need to be harassed about it before you're prepared. So you need to have a safe place to go. And on the other side of that, it's a safe room where if you're having a hard time with something, or you're struggling with the fact that you're different than everybody in your family, or you're struggling with the fact that you feel like you're living in two different worlds, the truth and other people don't, and you want to be around other people that are awakened like you can go there, share your feelings. And what I'm very proud of is that we have very good comment threads and very good group and member participation. So people are engaged. It's not like some groups you go in there and people just share things left and right, but nobody comments on it. Nobody likes it. There's no communication or conversation going on. Well, I feel like with I'm going to say our group, because I have some very good admins that work with me now. I think we just have an excellent dynamic there where it's safe, and also people enjoy going there and talking and sharing. So we go through the gambit of topics. A lot of times of course I like to try to share my own content, but a lot of the people that I follow, I share their stuff. I like to try to share things when they're going live, live videos, like for instance, this show, and try to keep up with, like, I guess what you would consider as like flat earth news, anything that's new that's coming out, that's either a new content channel or something that came out in the media, which I know a lot of us don't like to really follow. But what's exciting is that flat earth has been coming out in the media more and more. It's inevitable, whether it's going to be positive or negative feedback, it's going to get out there. So I like to try to keep tabs on that, But like I said, really the only thing that is a common topic is the fact that it's all things flat earth. And I really try to adhere to that. People try to post things about, like, I won't even mention some different topics, maybe Pizzagate or something like that, and I'm like, I'm not saying I'm against this, but stay on topic, and I squelch the arguments and the debates. I don't care if people debate, as humans and as adults, but that's what we are in there, is that we're adults, and we are learning to be true flat earthers and realize the importance of each other as human beings. We don't need to break each other down. I feel like you're slipping back into globe earth thinking whenever you want to get in there and you just abuse each other because your opinions are different, So I think that's where we differ. There's many, many good groups out there, but I'm partial to ours,
Yeah, of course. And I think that's great that you're providing a safe place for especially people that are new to this topic. But when you recognize an inkling of truth within it, then it sucks you in. You want to learn more. I know when I first realized that the earth wasn't moving, there's no measurable curvature, I was examining everything. And that was back in the times when YouTube wasn't jaded and tainted in the way that it is now, and there was actually good recommendations with regard to different um, video recommendations and links to other really good videos, and I would just go on those long all evening, just following the rabbit trail, going this way and that way, learning all things with regard to the flat earth and all the new information that was coming out from all the really interesting content providers. And so and now it's so overwhelming, and I'm so focused on my own stuff, I'm not taking the time to do that. Kathy really keeps me grounded with regard to all that. But I think also that there are a lot of paid shills and trolls out there, and that they are just trying to cause disruption and to cause distraction and to keep such antagonism up that it just drives people away from the issue altogether. If you can't debate or have discussion or share conversation on a topic, no matter what it is, with respect and honoring each other and open-mindedness, and with a truthfulness to want to learn, then all you're going to do is cause people to run as fast as they can in the other direction, in trying to get away. And especially for those that are trying to assert that, again, that this is all just a psyop and that it's a distraction and it has no relevancy to anything with, which most people consider salvation to be the most important topic and the one that Christians should be speaking about and debating about mostly. But in my opinion, this topic is critical because there's no greater with regard to the Darwinian heliocentric worldview, which has led astray more people and driven a wedge between them and the Creator and the uniqueness and the sanctity of life, the earth being special or being made in the image of God, the truthfulness, the inspired nature of the scriptures, all of that. And so this topic, once you come to revelation upon it, it brings all of that back to you immediately and forces you to reassess all you thought you knew. And it all absolutely destroys the whole paradigm of the lies, the indoctrination of the Helios. Yeah.
Could I share a Luther quote that's in this 50 Reasons book?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay, because it really fits right here. He said, they should know that one word of God is all, and all are one. If the Bible is false in one, it is false in all. This is a just and logical saying. If the Bible errs in astronomy, geology, physics, chronology, etc., then you can also, in theological questions, believe in it only so far as you have, from other sources, convinced yourself of the correctness of its statements. If the Copernican system is correct, then Genesis is a myth. Is Scripture, which has enlightened the world for thousands of years, now to be eclipsed by a science which has erred so often and is altogether fallacious in so many things? Much indeed is at stake. Satan is bold. A false principle of an immense import is practiced, namely, they falsify Scripture by totally ignoring words that do not suit them, or by discarding the right and obvious meaning and sense, and by inserting a different meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. And see that, realize again, for the listening audience, these words are over a century old, 102 years now. This book was printed and released to the public in 1915. And I know I had never heard about it until, Will mentioned it, and then you brought it to my attention, Kathy. And in having read and studied from certain aspects of it, it's going to greatly bless so many people's lives, because it is bringing to the forefront the 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 fact that all of what we are reassessing now in this day and age, these are things that people 100 years ago were talking about and debating as well. And it wasn't in Facebook or in, communities like Flat and Happy, but it was, on the streets. I'm sure they were going to whatever halls and meeting and sharing meal and conversation and coffee and doing what they could to bring down the all these idols, as far as the science and the scientists and the astrophysicists and the Jesuits and all those that laid the foundation for the ongoing the deception as it has reached us in this day and age. Because again, this is like 500 years that they have pulled the wool over our eyes and led us astray into doubting the scriptures, doubting the authenticity, the veracity of the word. And they have people so confused now and so divided from God and from understanding of the inspired nature of the gospel, that people think we evolved of monkeys, and that we well, now they are buying into that the ancient aliens create us, and they're coming back to save us, and that, in my opinion, is the next aspect of the strong delusion. And so many are just involved in idolatry without even knowing it. Karlee?
So I as we're all talking, I take notes so I can remember what to go back to.
Right on.
But so I wanted to comment on a couple things that you guys mentioned just now, and this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but you mentioned about people trolling and people, they're actually literally being people out there that are paid to troll, and I agree with that, and I believe that there really are people out there that are paid to create mass havoc and harass those, especially when it's a topic that seems to be on truth, to try to distract you.
Right.
But I think the majority of what I see, and I've seen a lot of it being in all the groups and then also moderating chats on some of the bigger channels as well, like the live chats. But I mean, I think just from what I've psychologically seen in humans in general, that a lot of those people literally are probably just humans that are having fun abusing others, because there's probably some psychological reason in their life where, like, they're not happy at their job, or their wife wears the pants at home and they're mad, or I don't know, that they're just taking it out on other humans, and they're also afraid of, they're going through that cognitive dissonance, and it's fear induced, so they take it out by being aggressive. So instead of actually giving into fear and feeling that what they think is a weakness, they lash out. And so a lot of what I see is still just humans. It's just the whole point that I like to try to get across, as far as the difference between you literally realizing the truth of this world and those that are still stuck in the false reality, is that we are learning how to respect each other and how to treat each other differently, because we're understanding how important we are and our human potential. I mean, that I can't drive that home enough, that those of us that are really actually getting this are understanding how important humanity is, and how we literally need to treat each other differently. I mean, it would change the whole entire world. And then, so you mentioned about, people say, they still mention that this is a psyop, and that it takes away from more important things, especially in Christianity, like salvation and spreading the gospel and things like that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There are people that are called to do that. However, and I I actually argue with my mom about this a lot because she really struggles with the truth of the flat earth, but she is a hardcore Christian. And, I explained to her a lot of times that in order for you to go through life explaining to people that they need to be saved from something, need salvation from sin, that they need to understand then the evil in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So a lot of times when we're explaining to people this massive deception, most people in our society have no idea what they really need saved from. They literally do not understand the immensity of the issue.
Right.
And I think with the truth of the flat earth, you're really getting into that nitty gritty of, no, like things really are this bad. You really have been lied to this much. And to couple with that thought, and hopefully, I don't know how long I have, but we see when it comes to the globe lie, sometime here in the last couple of minutes, you mentioned about that the globe lie is it's from Satan. Like it's about as evil as you're going to get, and that's why it's such a massive thing that we need to combat. We need to share the truth of the flat earth. But when you look at Satan and what he's been doing throughout all of history, it breaks down to a very basic thing in that he is jealous that he cannot create. So he wanted to be like God because God is the creator. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's really what it boils down to, is he wanted to be that way and he never will be that way. So what we witness throughout the biblical history is that, he tried to change the fact that Messiah was going to come through a human. So the sons of God came down and defiled the daughters of Eve and created the Nephilim and changed humanity. And he thought he was going to change the fact that the Messiah was going to come from a human, and that didn't work. And then, we have things like, and this gets into some weird topics. We might not have time for that tonight, but we get into a lot of things in history, like false deities and false gods, which were most likely something like fallen angels. And they, I'm sure, were having relations with human women back like in the Egyptian days and Pharaoh days, things like that. We have stories of alien abductions and our government's working hand in hand with what they call aliens. Alien agenda is not what we think. It's all still Satan trying to change humanity and trying to create something on his own. Abductions always have something to do with the reproductive parts of humans, and there's studies going on where that they are trying to change our DNA. And now we're moving into an era where instead of us being mixed with maybe fallen angel DNA and other animals, it's going more to the AI, like the robotic part, like transhumanism. Right. It's still, I feel like, at the most basic part, it's the bad in the world is trying to create and they can't, and the good, which is the creator, he is the creator. He created everything. Satan is still trying to become like God. And so when it comes to the globe lie, that's why to me it's so important, because he has been deceiving all of us all this time, because he has literally made it like God didn't create the earth and it happened on accident. So he knows he could not create such a magnificent thing like earth and creation, but so he's just going to mess it up for everybody,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I hope that made sense. There was a lot in there I'm sure I missed, but it just, to me, in basic form, the globe earth lie is so horrendous and needs to be left behind. We need to share the truth of the actual shape of the earth, because it proves that God is the creator and that Satan has been trying to be like God, and he just will never succeed. But I think this is one of those strong delusions, if not the strong delusion.
I fully agree with you. And I think it's very important that people actually examine, look into, and come to understanding on this aspect of it. Because, as I said, this is the next step of the evolution of this lie. Um, first that we were created the monkeys, that we, evolved the monkeys. Next, they're going to say that the whole missing link, the reason we can't find it is because the ancient aliens interdicted themselves into the affairs of humanity. And that's the reason why, all of a sudden there was this massive jump in evolution, that the ancient aliens created us through genetic experimentation so long ago. And so, yeah, I absolutely agree with you that people really need to look into the other aspects of the conspiratorial side of how the Bible brings truth and understanding to the mythology, the whole basis of the ancient alien, the Sumerian mythology, the antediluvian and primordial times, the prior times, the worship of the feathered serpent, all of that in ancient times, all the connections of the pagan cultures and civilizations and how they were involved in blood sacrifice, victim sacrifice, cutting the still beating hearts out of people, cannibalism, the offering of children in sacrifice. All those things are hand in hand and parcel to the discussion of what we are having here. Even Daniel, he says that they will intermingle themselves. They will try to intermingle themselves among the seed of men. And yeah, what you were talking about with Genesis 6 and the Nephilim and the sons of God mating with it was actually the daughters of Cain. But yeah, all of that is connected to and goes all the way back even to Genesis 3 and the serpent, the beguilement of Eve, the birth of Cain. I mean, there's so many things that are connected to this that, Christ saying in the scriptures, ye are of your father the devil, calls them a den of vipers. There is a bloodline that is dedicated to the serpent, that they are really the physical progeny of the Nakash, of the feathered serpent, and that they have been warring against the seed of Adam since the very beginning, the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. And so all of these facets, as strange and as bizarre as they sound, are very important and very relevant to the discussion. And really, it shows just how much deeper you have gone down the rabbit hole from just the introspection of flat Earth, because all these things are connected and, as I said, relevant to the conversation. We'll be right back, everybody, and we'll finish up with final segment. God bless all. Be back. All right, welcome back, everybody, for final segment. And so I wanted to give you a chance, Karlee, to comment on what I had commented about, what you were speaking about before we went to break, before we move forward.
I don't know what else to say other than I agree with you. I a while ago, I used to do a lot of studying on, the alien agenda and the fallen angels and the Nephilim and things like that. And I feel like you are very, very, very well versed in it. And the words don't come out quite the same when I talk about it anymore because I haven't kept up with it. But I agree with you. And I think that's like a maturity thing as far as my experience with all this truth is that you start seeing the bigger picture and how everything connects
Right.
as far back as, thousands of years. And when you start to see the bigger picture, then you're getting a better grasp on why this truth is so important. And then you can kind of get a better idea on how you can share that with others. But again, like I said earlier, you could share things that seem so profound. Unless that person's ready, they're just not going to get it. So
Right.
it's I actually have a video called Flat Earth Obligations, and I kind of go over, what we're obligated to do versus maybe what our responsibility is. And I am obligated to do what I'm doing as far as this experience and learning, the only obligation I have is really for me. And I know that sounds selfish, but in reality, that is the truth.
Yes.
You can't help others unless you work on yourself first. And my obligation is to make sure this experience is everything that I want it to be and everything it needs to be, because this is my world changing, you know. But however, if you get to the point where you want to start helping and you want to take the next step and you feel that calling to share, now you're taking on a responsibility. And how much you take on is your choice. But I do think if you put yourself out there, like some of us do, as some sort of voice, or that we're sharing, you know, things that we observe and that we, you know, experiments, or that we document, or just even our opinions and our theories, then we have a responsibility to be, you know, respectful, and to learn as much as we can. That's where I think there's a big difference. So in conclusion, I guess what I was saying is that you can learn everything that you were just mentioning, but you're not going to make someone change their mind. But it's good to know how all this fits together, so that you can share the truth, so that people understand the grander picture.
Right. And the other thing too, with regard to this generation that is up and coming, the youth that are seeking, that, you know, are watching shows like Ancient Aliens, and that have all of these questions, that see all of these megalithic sites and cyclopean structures built all over the world. They know that there was something going on in our ancient past where there was high technology, or a capacity, a capability that we no longer have. And so there's a person that was trying to call in. I'm going to try to bring them on. Hello, 701, can you hear us? Hmm. Okay, not quite sure how to answer and bring this person on, but let me see. 701, can you hear us? Are you there? Okay. Well, if I'm not able to do this, but anyways, there's so many that are um, looking for answers. People, young people, children, teens that have been examining and looking at all of this conspiratorial stuff on TV, and they are seeking guidance. They are looking for answers. They are wanting to know more about things that they are just starting to question and starting to grasp. And topics like the flat earth, and the whole revelation that we've been lied to in something this large, you know, as far as the cosmology, if they can lie about this, what else have they been lying about? What else do we have to question ourselves uh, about? And what else do we have to look into? Um, and so all of this is coming to the forefront for a lot of people. And so, you know, being able to give answers and to give insight and to give guidance to the youth, that, you know, are seeking for truth, I think is very important. And it will keep people from running away, because most people are leaving, abandoning the churches and the mainstream pastors and preachers that can't provide answer on the esoteric aspects of the scriptures. They can't talk about the Genesis 6, the, you know, the sons of God, and the interdiction into the affairs of humanity, the whole presence of the giants all across the world. And so it's important for us to be able to do so, because if we can, we're going to lead them to the scriptures, and we're going to lead them to intimate relationship with the Creator and with the Savior Messiah. And that is what is going to restore faith and truth in people. and bring them back to relationship with the Creator and with the Most High. And there's nothing greater, nothing more important than in doing that. Kathy, would you like to comment? You're on mute if you are. Okay, maybe we lost her. Karlee, would you like to comment?
Yes, yeah, I would. I agree with you that the up and coming generations are going to be looking for answers, if not already. And that's why I think it's important, those of us that are kind of stepping out, that we're taking on this responsibility, that we learn to do it in a very respectful way and in like as a good example. Because if we are going to be this wave of people that are going to help teach the next generation, it's important that we do it in a good, solid way and know what we're talking about. But and it gives me butterflies in my stomach thinking about the future and the fact that things are, Lord willing, things are going to really change, and that the history books are going to have to be rewritten. School books are going to have to be rewritten. Things are going to change all over the place as far as what we're being taught. School's going to have to be revamped. And I was told a few days ago, in fact, I think it was Patricia Steer from Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes, you had her on last week. She mentioned in a comment in one of my videos that I had like a very natural like teaching presence to me, and I never looked at myself that way. However, maybe some of us are going to be kind of slipping into those roles because we're feeling more comfortable with it. But I've started this series where I'm actually taking comments and questions from friends and family, and some of them are a little bit aggressive. Sometimes these people are aggressive when it comes to their questioning or their statements on some of the videos. And I've called the new series, it's called Flat Earth Answers, and I'm taking what they're saying and just turning it right back around on them and then answering it. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not really obligated to do that. I don't like to get into debates with people, and I'm not obligated to answer your questions. However, if you get a lot of the same questions over and over again, and people are really searching for truth, whether they're being aggressive or not, I've been trying to compile some of these questions and then coming up with just very simple answers. And that's a series that I'm actually starting. I already have one of the videos out. It's called Flat Earth Answers #1. And then I want to just keep adding to that. So I've encouraged people, even if they're trolls or if they're friends and family, to send me their questions. I don't know all the answers, but there's some things that I can throw back out there and maybe help them gain a different perspective in a nice, respectful way instead of just arguing and battling it out, because you're right. People are going to be looking for answers.
Mm-hmm. And there are people that are honestly seeking, and it's those kind of people we really want to help, because they are the ones that will actually do the research and get off the fence, to actually go and search for curvature, confirm that the earth is not moving. And then in just those two ways, it completely changes their paradigm of what the earth is and where they are. And so it forces them to reassess everything. And so, and I'd like to actually help you with that, because I have, for the last 2 years since the publication of my Flat Earth as Key to Decrypt the Book of Enoch and the Firmament Vaulted Dome of the Earth, I've had hundreds of questions asked me in similar manner, and I have actually saved those questions, and my friend Carol has been posting the questions and answers from a lot of that dialogue, and I would be glad to share that with you so that if you'd like to, you can share any of it with your community and with those that because as you said, in awakening to this as concept, and we all go through a progression of what we think about, what we consider, what we ask ourselves about, and the progression to truth is similar for all of us. And so we can all benefit um, from the questions and answers that we share with others. And so at some point I will share that with you. And like I said, you're welcome to share it as you wish in any way that you'd like to. But if you would, can you talk about some of the other videos and some of the other work that you've been doing, the other revelations that you personally have been led to that you've been, sharing with your groups?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of follow up with what you're saying there, I would absolutely love to, be able to utilize some of the stuff that you've compiled, because I'm sure it's some great questions. And I encourage others, just because I do a video and it has a certain name to it, I encourage others to do the same thing. If you want to go make a video and give it the same exact name and the same exact idea and compile the questions that you get and give those people answers, I think more of us should start doing those sorts of things. I'm starting to get, there's like a vibe going through the community with certain people where we want to start doing like collaborations. We want to start kind of getting in sync with each other and kind of getting the school of fish to move the same way. Not that we need a leader, I'm not saying that, but there's a gentleman named D Marbles on YouTube, and he put out a video called FE Offensive. And that doesn't mean to offend. He literally means that we need to start going on the offense. So, and I agreed with him, and I asked him, and I haven't done the video yet, but it's in my, it's in my list of things to do. I would like to make a video and also call it FE offensive, and just kind of go over the fact that we need to be more on the offense, and not that we need to attack, globe earthers. I don't want it to seem like that. But
Right.
What happens oftentimes is that when you're being trolled or you're in a debate with friends and family, is that they're doing all the questioning and they're doing the yelling and they're being aggressive, and we're sitting back and trying to answer their questions. And who's controlling that conversation is the person that is asking the questions and the person that's being aggressive. Well, we need to kind of flip that around and stop allowing the trolls and the people that are digging the questions in to be controlling the conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
So
yeah, absolutely.
with being more on the offense, and I think a lot of the voices in the community should start doing video logs focused on that. Like if we all made one, it would kind of get the community going in the same direction. Like learn a couple key points and start going on the offense instead of just sitting back and getting hammered with questions and abuse and trolling and not be in control of the situation. We need to kind of start stepping up. And I'm not saying we need a leader, but we need to take a leadership role as far as
right.
we're changing the world and we're getting the truth out there. Like, take it seriously. We're not just in middle school and we're not just arguing, on the playground or something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we're all leaders. Everybody that steps up and decides to share the truth and to reveal it to others, you can be a leader. And that is encouraging others to also do the same. And so we are all being leaders together. And we're coming forward to again, provide guidance, to give answers, and to really help those that are really trying to learn and that want to know more. Even with, in dealing with and handling the trolls, as you said, if we can turn it around on them, because again, it's very simple to set and determine that first, the earth is not moving. I mean, you can go out and look at a flag. I have a flagpole out in the front of my house. Some days it's not wavering at all. And the fact that they try to tell us that the earth is spinning at 1,037 miles an hour when, there's not even enough wind to move my flag or to tussle my hair. All of those things, it's easily proven that the earth is not moving, that the sun is local. And even like a stream of smoke on a day when you're burning a bunch of leaves in your yard, the stream of smoke goes straight up into the air, unless there is some wind, and then it will trail off in that direction, with the way, whichever way the wind is wavering. But for the most part, if the Earth was spinning at 1,037 miles an hour, the stream would be sideways, as if it was coming out of a locomotive. The Earth would be trailing this smoke eastward, and so those kind of things are confirmation that the Earth is not moving, and then the other thing is that there's no measurable curvature. You can go out, look at the Statue of Liberty if you're in New York, look at the Chicago skyline from across Lake Michigan if you're in Chicago. I mean, things of that nature. Anybody can go somewhere near where they are and see across a long ways and see the skyline of a cityscape or a monument or a lighthouse, or even an island. They, just recently, people were talking about how they can see Oahu from Kauai, 100 miles distance, which should not be possible. And so those kind of things are easily provable, and we need to use those facts to get others to question why it is they believe in around Earth, and that we are, spinning at this high rate of speed, and that the sun is also moving around some galactic center, and even the entire Milky Way is spinning around some universal center at some, millions of miles an hour. I mean, it's ludicrous. And I mean, again, the whole thing with all the luminaries in time-lapse photography, you can plainly see that the everything is moving in circle around Polaris. That all of the stars, all of the celestial luminaries, and they're all moving at the same rate of speed. They are all moving in circle around Polaris, not around the sun, but around Polaris. And time-lapse photography verifies that. The fact that Polaris hasn't moved for thousands of years has been used by shipmasters for navigation. All those things are confirmation, and we can use those facts to flip it on, all those that are aggressively asking us questions and attacking us. And so we need to do that. And I agree with you.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I very much agree with everything you just said. And in keeping with the topic, I like this topic that just kind of naturally came out with talking about just simple observations, just simple organic observations of Earth is just proving the fact that it's flat and motionless. I just did a small little study on how we were literally created. Our bodies were created to exist on a motionless plane. And I started doing this research. When I first started, I really wanted to do a video on the fact that our eyes and just even how our heads move and how we keep balance, that our eyes and our head kind of work like a gyroscope, and that it always tries to keep, that your sight level, and you're always going back to being level and balanced. Mm-hmm. And as I was doing my research, it was kind of ironic. As I was doing my research, lo and behold, I found that 2 other flat earthers had already done videos on this. And which is awesome. It's wonderful. It's so saturated out there that it gets harder and harder to come up with a genuine idea, because so many other people have already thought of it, and that's okay, because I encourage others to, even if someone else has already thought of that idea, everyone's experience and their point of view is going to be slightly different, and you might help someone else by sharing your thoughts, Right, so I'm okay with that. But when I was going down that road, I thought, okay, well, these videos really covered this very well, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't need to redo it. So I kind of went a little bit different way, still following the idea of how our bodies were created to be on a level plane. And I started looking into our equilibrium. So I created this video called Flat Earth Equilibrium. It's only like 8 minutes. It takes forever to make an 8-minute video, so my videos aren't really that long. But it kind of goes over the fact that it's called our vestibular system, our inner ear. It has these 3 tubes. They're like a semicircle. They're called semicircle canals. So these 3 tubes are filled with fluid in our ear, and they literally work like a bubble spirit level. So everyone knows what a level looks like when you move it back and forth. There's a little bubble inside, and it shows you whether you have that level.
Mm-hmm.
And the inside workings of our ear work very similar, only it works in 3 different ways. Like if you go front to back, like move your head front to back, side to side, or up and down. And it works very similar to, there's a bubble spirit level that works 3 ways. It's a triple level that we put on cameras. It actually hooks to the top of the camera where the flash would go. And that helps you to keep your camera as completely stabilized as possible to get a balanced photo. And I was looking into this, and I mean, it blows my mind, but it makes sense. And it's just such a simple observation that our bodies were literally created that when we move our head around, the inside workings of our ear, that tells us that we're moving. It tells us if we're off balance. It tells us if we're looking at something sideways. And it is very, very sensitive and lets us know if there is any kind of motion. So in a world where we're told that the Coriolis effect, that this is happening, that we are spinning, 1,000 miles per hour on average, and then that we were like whirling around the sun at 66.6 thousand miles per hour. It's just, like you said, it's ludicrous, because even our bodies were literally created to feel the slightest movement, and also to bring us back to balance and bring us back to being level. And I just thought that was so interesting enough for me to do a small study on, and I did a video on that as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've never heard about it. So it's like a natural kind of, human gyroscope type of thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Our eyes work more like a gyroscope, but the inner workings of the ear is literally like a level, like the tool, the level, because it even has the fluid that moves back and forth. And when you're standing level, and when the slightest bit of movement, even some of the studies they did on the experiments they did, and some of the studies to prove this is going on in the ear was like an earthquake machine, was to recreate an earthquake, and even the slightest little bit of movement, people could feel it. But then they're going to tell you that we cannot feel that the whole earth is spinning.
Yeah, right.
It's insane.
Right. And that the people that are in southern latitudes are, walking around upside down, and that, the buildings and everything are upside. It's just absolutely ludicrous. The other thing with the way that water works, it shows us that it has a natural property of always seeking its level and always finding and pulling together with other bodies of water, forming a level, sea level. All of that is confirmation of what we're talking about, that we live on a plane.
Yeah,
Final
absolutely.
comment, Karlee. We got like 30 seconds. So.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for having me on this evening. I really, really enjoyed it. You and Kathy are both wonderful people. If you guys want to find me on YouTube, Karlee Sunshine, or on Facebook, it's Karlee Sunshine Midrano.
Thank you, sister. We appreciate you, and thank everybody out there for joining us this evening. We look forward to further dialogue, and I'm gonna send you those questions. So we'll be in touch. Be blessed.
Awesome.
God bless all. Shalom. Good night.